Great to have your company for the marketplace. Yes, the NBL season has been done and dusted, but this is where the fun begins. We take you through all of the key signings, all of the big news, and who might land where. And it's all coming your way via nbl.com.au and all of our social media platforms. Jack Heverin alongside the number one newsbreaker in Australian basketball, ESPN's Olgun Uluc. Olgun, great to have you with us. And let's start with the Sydney Kings because they are the reigning champions and they're not resting on their laurels.
Not at all. The first thing I'm told that these Kings have done is instead of taking up Jalen Galloway's team option for the upcoming season, they've instead chose to decline that and renegotiate. And I'm told Galloway and the Kings have come to terms on a 3-year deal to keep the wing in Sydney until 2027. The third year of that contract is a team option, I'm told, but this was a good way for the Kings to keep their 20-year-old up-and-coming athletic wing in Sydney for a solid amount of time. It keeps him there for what would be his 6th year as a Sydney King. And so the Sydney Kings have not, like you said, rested on their laurels. They are going harder at retaining that core bench that won them back-to-back titles.
Big investment by the Kings. What about Angus Glover? Last week, Paul Smith, the owner of the Sydney Kings, said that if he has his way, Angus Glover will be a King for life. He is out of contract. Where do things sit right now?
Glover was poised after his grand final showing to be one of the more intriguing free agents, but I'm under the impression that it's very unlikely he's even going to make it to free agency. Glover, his management of the Sydney Kings are expected to start talks this week about a new deal to remain in Sydney, and it would surprise me if that stretched beyond the end of this week. There is mutual interest to get a deal done. I'm told that both parties are in lockstep with each other, and so I expect a deal to get done relatively soon there.
While we're on the Sydney Kings, Justin Simon, in the eyes of many, was the championship MVP, very close to it. Are the Kings looking to bring him back next season?
I'm told that there is some mutual interest in bringing Justin Simon back. Like you said, he was an elite defender, probably their most consistent player through that grand final series. And so it's no surprise that there is mutual interest there. And I think it's more palatable because with Xavier Cooks doing his thing with the Washington Wizards in the NBA, you can have what most would call a non-shooter like Justin Simon in that lineup. And it doesn't feel as weird because you don't have Xavier Cooks there anymore. You can go and recruit effectively around a guy like Justin Simon because we saw in this grand final series just how valuable a player like that can be.
Let's have a look at one of the biggest names during free agency. And I'm absolutely certain, Olgun, that we are going to mention the name of Will McDowell-White a number of times on this show. Let's just take the chance now to talk about where things sit. He's out of contract with the New Zealand Breakers. Everyone wants a slice of him, no doubt about it. Where are we at currently?
Look, Will McDowell-White will take his time with his free agency. Practically every team in the league is preparing an offer. The teams that I'm told are the most kind of vociferous about putting an offer forward for McDowell-White, I'm told the Brisbane Bullets are going really hard at him. He's a Brisbane kid. There is a sense that he might want to come home, and so the Bullets will fight hard for him. I'm told Southeast Melbourne really, really likes him. And the sleeper team that I'll throw out there are the Perth Wildcats. Bryce Cotton is sort of itching to play next to an elite point guard, and if you can go and get an elite local point guard like McDowell-White, and let's say Bryce Cotton gets his citizenship, you could have the elite local backcourt in the NBL. There's a sense that Bryce wants to play next to a playmaker, and he wants McDowell-White in the fold in Perth. Whether they can get it done is a different story, and whether they can offload some of those other contracts in order to free up space for McDowell-White is yet to be seen. But they're a team that I wouldn't sleep on when it comes to the McDowell-White sweepstakes.
We'll get to Perth in just a moment. Where does this leave the New Zealand Breakers when it comes to Will McDowell-White?
Look, they are still, as much as those other teams are preparing significant offers, I think the Breakers are still in the driver's seat. I think we can liken this sort of to Keanu Pinder's free agency last season, where Pinder had a mutual option to remain in Cairns, and he chose to take that up instead of taking bigger offers elsewhere. What that did was he sort of bet on himself, and instead of taking what would have been still a relatively solid offer, he's bumped himself up to the point where he was playing MVP basketball, and that offer just grows and grows and grows. And so, McDowell-White had a lot of success in New Zealand under Mody Mayor. They are preparing a really strong offer. And so there is a sense that McDowell-White would be completely content with staying there. But I'm told he's going to head to LA and start working out and continue working on his game. There's going to be options outside the NBL too. But no, I wouldn't count out New Zealand at all.
Let's get to the Wildcats then in that case. Some change coming. Mitch Norton, Todd Blanchfield are two names that have been discussed a lot that might be looking for a change of scenery. Yeah,
there's a sense that they've been told that they can look elsewhere, start to kind of gauge their interest with other teams, and other teams are thinking about that interest, thinking about the logistics and how you buy them out of their respective contracts. Another name that's probably in that mix is Carl Zunic. Other teams are working with the impression that Zunic, Norton, Blanchfield are all available at this point, and then it's just about putting together a buyout and going through those logistics of actually getting those contracts. But I'm under the impression that there will be a new look bench for the Perth Wildcats this coming season.
And then the Webster Brothers are the other one as well. There are some mutual options. Where do things sit with both of them right now?
So those negotiations started practically as soon as the season ended, as far as what it looks like to bring both of those guys back. At this point in those talks, I'm told that it's likely that both will return. I'm told the talks between the Webster Brothers and the Perth Wildcats are going relatively well right now, and so it wouldn't surprise me if a deal gets done potentially before that opt out, the option pickup deadline, or not deadline, but when every team has to make those options official.
To some re-signing news to finish off, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix have offered Owen Foxwell a 2-year deal, which is fantastic. One of the brightest young players in the competition. But the question does beg, Olgun, with that signature, where does it leave their captain, Kyle Adnam?
It's a good kind of view into where Southeast's priorities are right now, because they've been waiting on re-signing a lot of their guys until they got a head coach. And so for them to lock in Owen Foxwell this early, granted, he is, a young kid, good defender, really high ceiling, still just 20 years old, one of the youngest players in the league. There was value in locking him up, but it does give us a sense of where their priorities are as far as locking guys in. They didn't want to really lock anyone in until they got that head coach. And so it tells you what they think about Owen Foxwell. And look, I think it's more than likely that Kyle Adnam will be somewhere else this coming season. That's what other teams are feeling. Other teams are preparing to make offers for him. And so that's where the expectation is right now.
And just finally with the Illawarra Hawks, so re-signing Dan Greeder for a couple of years, which is fantastic after all of the bad luck that he's had. They've got Tyler Harvey locked away, Justin Robinson locked away, and Sam Froling. So it's starting to come together for the Hawks.
Yeah, you can see what the Hawks are trying to build here. There's a defensive focus with Justin Robinson and Dan Greeder and Wani Swaka-Uluc and these sorts of guys. And, it wouldn't surprise me if they went and chased more guys who fit that mold. I look in free agency and, who might be available. Is a Mason Peatling available? Will they chase him? A Bull Kual? Is it those sorts of players that they're going to go after? You can sense the type of basketball they want to play. And so locking Dan Greed up made a lot of sense. Averaged 5 points a game this past season. It's coming off those injuries, but he's the longest tenured Illawarra Hawk at this point. And so it is important to lock in those sorts of players in order to have sustainability as a franchise.
It's all about to really hot up. Monday, March the 27th, options must be confirmed by all teams. Then the following day at 9 a.m., the free agents list and the player value information is to be circulated. And then Thursday, March the 30th at 9 a.m., free agency opens. We'll have you covered right across the period on the marketplace. Olgun, thank you very much, and we'll chat later in the week.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks for being with us on the marketplace. We'll see you soon.